This is KymB reporting from the weed capital of the world, New York City. After almost 100 years of prohibition, the government has finally loosened the hold on cannabis. As we enter a new industry of innovation, technology, and greed, there are some cannabis professionals who have pushed through the doors of opportunity. I talk to them unfiltered and uncut. We get the real story from the highest in the room. I am with the CEO of CMB, Cannabis Means Business, formerly the CWCBE. Christine, thank you so much for being my esteemed guest, as well as CMB being the sponsor for this podcast, Highest in the Room.
Hi, KymB. Thanks for having me and making time. This is great. This is a real treat for us and for me.
I'm always glad to talk to you, Christine, especially about the upcoming expo that we have here in 2025. Now, we've been doing this for 10 years, going on 11. And this year we're kind of doing something a little bit different. We've got a really fun and inviting rebrand from the CWCB Expo to Cannabis Means Business, and that's kind of back to the roots. So, but first, I got a question for you. It's 2025, Christine. What do you think is in cannabis in 2025? What's hot?
Well, what's hot? That's a great question, and I think what's hot is legalized cannabis everywhere, legalized consumption. I think that there's this poll after poll. It's showing that Americans want over 70% in some of these polls. 70% want to have legalization. So I think there's this movement definitely across the nation for people to consume properly and legally with healthy products. And with legalization comes that notion of putting things in our body that's healthy. So I think that's in the ability to consume unhindered with freedoms. I think that's in 2025. Freedoms of a lot of things is in as a thing. Entrepreneurship and how to get into this economic layer that's booming, especially in New York on the East Coast here. Being in the right room, being attached to the right networking events and the right people and good people. So I think that's what's in. Branding.
What's out? What's done?
What's out is bad products that are not healthy. I think that's what's not in. And I think sequestering any good ideas about making good business and sequestering this as one of those industries that shouldn't be legalized and that shouldn't be at all, I think is out. I think this is, again, it is it's come to a point where it needs to be legal. So I think and what's out is this whole concept of it's no good and the plant is terrible, or whatever that is. It's we need to really kind of move this forward.
I love that, and I agree. We don't we want foods that are lab tested, that have the ingredients from trusted sources when we put things in our body. That's why we go to grocery stores, and we tend not to just grocery shop out on the street with things just laying around. And I think it's the same thing for cannabis. Like, we want the lab tests. We want to get it from trusted sources, and there's got to be some type of overseeing of governing and overseeing of that process. Now, I'm not here for over regulation because that doesn't help the situation, but I do think that it is so true. People want to have a healthier relationship with the plant and have all the freedoms around it. So that is such a great point.
I agree, and I think this is where the business end, where the legalization is taken care of in a proper way, in an appropriate way, business can thrive. The mainstream businesses, the services, the accountants, the medical, the legal, the agriculture, the culture, the health and wellness groups that are not plant touching, perhaps, but they can join and they should be joining as a mainstream interest to serve legalized cannabis industry and become part of that. And that's where, when legalization is in, that's why I say it's in, it helps the economic layer grow. And that's where we're at a point, we're at a precipice where that I think is booming and is about to boom. Being in the right room, that's a concept that we've been pushing for a long time. New York is the right room. And that's where I think this is the CMB, Cannabis Means Business, getting back to our roots, is reminding everyone we were the first trade show, the first cannabis trade show ever in New York at the Javits Center. And we're still here. And it is the right room. So there you go.
It is. It for sure is. And, Christine, as we've, kind of seen a real development of cannabis over the years, starting back in, with California, I think in the late 90s, that's when people started saying, there's a medicine here and we have to dig a little further. And it took, over 20 years to get where we are, from a couple of women actually in California saying this is medicine and we need to help people, into an explosion of an industry where we get to have all the supply chain right here in our backyards, and whatever state you in is where the whole supply chain comes from. And that's a really exciting thought. Like, we're bringing production, manufacturing, and agriculture back to all 50 states as each one comes online being legal. And we still got, I think a couple dozen states left who are still, teeter tottering on the whole legalization front. But I think this is not just good for people and lifestyle and culture, but it's good for our economic course as a country.
I agree. I think that's a very well put concept. And I think that uh, will bring in that belief has always brought in, and that was what our show, and that's why Cannabis Means Business. We're hitting that home, continuing and really putting that up in the forefront and reminding everyone this is where we started, this is where we're headed. We're providing this cannabis and this business environment for the cannabis industry, building that marketplace. We're bringing in the capital raise folks, the financial folks. We're bringing in the mainstream America to come in, and it's helping and saying exactly what you said. All those sectors across the country coming together, and I think when you brought up California, a very one of the first medical, and then they've been since the '90s. What they're going through now is just awful. And we pray for all of those people where our hearts and souls are with them. And all the industries there are suffering. In cannabis too, it is along with all of the industries that have been suffering from the fires. So we wish that we wish them well, and that's there's a rebuilding there that's going to have to happen. But in it,
Absolutely.
but we're bringing all of these folks in, and again and again, but this is where, at this point, this business in New York on the East Coast, recreating and reinventing that room is where we're at. And this is where the Cannabis Means Business is rejuvenating. And it's not old, it's new. It's all new again.
And there's a lot of, wonderful things that we've done in the past that we'll continue to do. And then we're going to have some new stuff. And, we're not going to give away all of our secrets right now, but make sure all of you who have tuned in, that you sign up for the email list and stay tuned, because we have a lot of exciting things happening. And Christine, we have a great, advisory board that really is filled with people that are that roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. I'm not going to point any fingers, but
Yeah. So you're on our council, you're on our advisory council, and we thank you for that. We have one of our newest members is, I can give a shout out, I think, to one of our newest members, Kristen Jordan. She is an iconic figure in the industry. Let's face it.
facts.
I've known Kristen for a long time, as you are. I know she's very good, your friend of yours. She agreed to be on the council. I'm thrilled, and she is going to bring a lot of energy. She's been with our show from the beginning. She said she was in our first show, attended, and a lot of the people who have stuck with us came to our first show way back. So this is really inspiring for me that the people that I've met along the way are still with us. They're still together, and they want to be part of it as part of the core. And that is the most rewarding thing for us as a team. So, and I thank you. You've been fantastic. You're a business owner. And I want to know from your perspective, as Tribe Toke's co-founder and CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, what what do you see from 2025? What's in, and what is the right room? How do you see the new innovative things happening from your perspective? And you're the business owner. You've seen a lot of different things along the way. So what do you see for 2025?
Well, I think it's so interesting how, the ongoing development and innovation continues in cannabis, and it's no longer just a plant, and it's an ecosystem. And for the consumer, it's a lifestyle. And so I think we're going to see a lot more people jumping in and trying cannabis for different wellness modalities. And I think people are going to start using it a lot more medicinally. They may not get a medical license because it's adult use, so you don't actually need one, although there are some benefits from having a medical license. I personally have one myself. So I think we're going to see this really big shift in the consumer aspects of it. Like you said, people want to get things from a trusted source. They want third party lab testing. They want no food dyes. They want no, crappy ingredients. They want quality and purity. But I think in the business side is what's really interesting, right? Because we have to follow the consumers. It's
Mhm.
not just, we don't, just because I like something doesn't mean that all of the consumers in New York like it. So, what I think is really important for businesses is the branding and the story
Mm.
and your network is your net worth. So making sure that your industry respects you, because that is where the commerce happens, right? There's a chain of command in business. There's, the farmers, there's the processors, there's the delivery, there's the retail, and then there's the consumer, and melded in there is the brands. And so I think we're going to see a shift in, this very conscious way of dedicating branding and marketing to really sing to the customer.
Mm.
It's a dog eat dog world out there, and it is a very tough, tough industry to stay afloat because of the things like 280E and having to have security and insurance and so many layers. So it's really important for business owners to make sure, regardless of where you are in the supply chain, to be well branded, whether that's a farmer, a processor, or a delivery service, because we're all fighting for business. And honestly, if you're not prepared and you don't know the right people, then you're going to fall flat. So, what's in is making sure you're in the right room, just like you said it. And you know what my favorite thing about the conference last year was, Christine?
But
Is that initial moment of walking down, um, the strip that brings you into the property of the Jacob Javits Center, which is iconic in itself, right? It's just an iconic venue known all over the world. Some of the biggest conferences, some of the biggest like entrepreneurs and CEOs speak in that facility, and having that moment where you start to see the people and everybody's looking at each other, and you're like, wow, okay, here we are once again, ready to do business in this iconic spot, in an industry that was illegal. People are still in jail for cannabis, and we have so much work to do. But here we are walking into this iconic venue, and you start to see people at registration, and you're walking in, and there is an energy where people are ready to shake hands, exchange information, and make business happen. And that is why I just love that we went back to Cannabis Means Business, because it absolutely does.
Oh, well, you said it all. There you go. And you experienced the right room, and we create that industry, create that marketplace to help build the industry. And I'm glad you got it. You got it, and you got my heart. So there you go.
You know what's really fun too is the vast amount of opportunities for networking. And last year we had a new kind of like a new activation where I was honored and privileged to host the women's luncheon.
Yep. So, yep, the Women's Entrepreneur Luncheon, and we're planning to have an entrepreneur hub as well again, and that is going to happen. So get ready. That's going to be, and it was very active. It was, you call it an activation. It was energetic, and people loved it. The men loved it. The women loved it. Everyone loved it, and it had meaningful experience and a meaningful post experience for a lot of folks.
Absolutely. And on day one, just, setting the women entrepreneurs on fire and then letting them out into the wild, the Jacob Javits Center floor. It really, you could feel the energy, you could feel the vibration. And it was a really exciting moment. And there are so many exciting moments that we handpick and curate as we open the doors the night before, and start networking, and then the slew of other things to do. Christine, what can we expect all of those things this year?
Yeah, we're going to have a kickoff party the night before on the rooftop of the same place we had it last year, the hotel. We have a big yacht party coming. So it's really a fantastic. We have actually a huge sponsor for that, for the yacht.
Amazing.
O2 Vape is our sponsor for that.
Amazing.
So this is going to be a really iconic year for us. We've got activations on the floor that we're hatching and planning. That when the next time I'm on, or we'll have someone else from the team on here, or maybe one of the advisors can be interviewed, and they can talk about all of the planning that we're going to be doing. But you'll be part of that too. But it's a little premature right now to divulge, because we're putting some good sparkles on it, and some
Right.
meaningful content there. But it's going to be a very active floor, and things are just moving in the right direction for New York, and the room being in the right room.
Absolutely.
It's business.
It's so true, and it's so clear that people are ready to get business done. And last year there were so many amazing connections that turned into collaborations, and deals as usual getting done on the floor. We picked up a bunch of wholesale customers. We also had the opportunity to meet some people that have introduced us into potential fundraising partners. And, as more people are getting called by the OCM to go get fingerprinted, there are more businesses opening. There are more opportunities that are coming abreast out there, specifically here in New York. And we know some of our neighboring states are doing big business, including New Jersey, right over the bridge, and they have also, surpassed $1 billion in revenue. New York, over
Yeah.
$1 billion in revenue.
Yep.
Maryland, $1 billion in revenue. There's big money coming online, and I really urge everyone to, no pun intended, suit up, roll up, and
Yeah.
get ready, because it is an important and integral time to make sure that when you are in the room, that you're on point, you're ready to talk about your business and make meaningful connections. And I think that's another thing that's really in 2025 is meaningful connections, not a lot of connections, but meaningful
Yeah,
ones.
exactly. And that's the thing, and I think you hit it on the head. And I don't think there's any more that I can say other than agree with you. And when you look at these networking events that you refer to, and the floor, the activities on the floor, it's all about being in the right room, right? So the B2B bash, the yacht party, which O2 Vape is the exclusive sponsor. I mean, these are the right rooms. This is where the deals continue to be talked about and get done. You start on the floor, and you go to these networking events, which are other rooms. But you got to look at every booth as a room, right? You got to look at that. And that's where exhibitors do well. That's where they get the leads in their room. And that's what we're creating here. So,
I love it,
yeah.
Christine. Thank you so much again for allowing me in the space along with you and this podcast, having so many. I mean, last year we had industry leaders from every part of the supply chain, and it was really amazing. And we've had the opportunity to discuss all the topics that have been trending, and this year will be no different, as the guests on Highest in the Room come on from all different walks of life, from different states, so that we can stay on top of what's trending, what's interesting, because even though New York is the weed capital of the world, there are so many different cultures and so many different unknowns that contribute. So I make it a point to make sure that it's not just people from New York City on this podcast, it's people from all over the country. And wink, wink, we might even have some international people coming on and talking about what's happening in cannabis in the world. Because as we know in New York City, this is the melting pot. And the Big Apple has a lot to say, and I am ready to just take a bite and smoke right out of it.
There you go. Awesome.
Christine, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. And we are all really excited for June to just hurry up and get here, but not too fast. And for us to all, push through the doors of opportunity at our, partner, the Jacob Javits Center,
Mhm.
and really take a look at what we've got in the room. And that room is where cannabis means business.
Uh,
This is KymB and Christine Ianuzzi, CMB Cannabis Means Business 2025, and we are signing off.